I am Dr. Vibha Rathod, Assistant Professor History, BSSS College, Bhopal. Russian Revolution, Module 1, we have already discussed. And in that module, we have discussed about 3 revolutions, that is the 1905 revolution, 1917 revolutions and Bolshevik revolution. Simultaneously in module 1, we have discussed about Lenin. Now, this is module 2. In this module, I am going to tell you about the socialism of Lenin or the communism of Lenin, how this established in Russia and how the people of Russia, they got benefits of this Russian Revolution. Next, we will discuss about Joseph Stalin, who later became the dictator of this Russia. So, this all will be the part of module 2, that is Russian Revolution Part 2. Lenin came to power on a promise of bread, land and peace. These 3 things he kept in his mind, but it was not an easy task because the war was still going on. So in November 1917, the Bolsheviks led by Lenin took control of the capital of Petrograd. They immediately removed the provisional government which was led by Kerensky. In March 1918, the Bolsheviks made another move. Russia signed a treaty with Germany that ended the German invasion of Russia and pulled the Russians out from World War I. The government authority now passed into the hands of the people and the proletariat assumed power. The socialist revolution and had now to fulfill a great historical mission, that is to construct a new society free from any exploiter and the exploited, free from suppressor and the suppressed. This society was to be known as the Communist Society. New socialist order which was established by Lenin. It has some outlined program which are as follows. As first, what he did, Lenin had proclaimed the right to all the peoples. He ordered land distribution among peasants, took over the control of major industries to be run by Soviets, capitalists to be deprived of their political rights, banks to be centralized and nationalized, production to be controlled by the state. One quotation said by Lenin, "So long as the state exists, there is no freedom. When there is freedom, there will be no state." It is said by Lenin. Later, the world divided into 2 ideological blocks and Russia rises as a world power. Women's condition improved and collectivization of farming was focused more. Later in 1921, some problems again started in Russia, and these all were the economic problems. So Lenin issued one new economic policy, in short we can call it NEP. Although Lenin had succeeded in repressing the opponents, he was afraid of deteriorating economic conditions of Russia. He was far-sighted politician. He knew very well that the economic policy should be immediately changed in order to pacify the discontent of masses. Hence, he decided to return the capitalist system and proclaimed in 1921 a new economic policy. As a matter of fact, this policy actually was a compromise between socialism and capitalism. Later, Russia, after revolution, one more thing happened, the creation of USSR. By 1922, both the World War and Russia's civil war were over and Russia was now a nation state. The Bolshevik Party was renamed the Russian Communist Party. In short, we can call it RCP. Russia was now the Soviet Union, or we can call it USSR. USSR, full form, you all know that, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The revolution deeply shaped Russia. Not only Russia, but the revolution changed the dynamics of World War I. It represents a major shift from empire to nation state. How that USSR created? Let's see. Lenin created the USSR in 1922 by a treaty between Russia, Ukraine, Belarus and the Transcaucasus. Now it is known as Georgia, Armenia and Azerbaijan. So these all countries altogether, they formed USSR. Lenin became the first head of the USSR, but by the time his health was declining. Lenin died in 1924. Communist leadership would continue under the new Soviet leader of Bolsheviks, and his name was Joseph Stalin. Let us talk about the Russia under Joseph Stalin. He born in 1878 until 1953 he ruled in Russia, or he became the head of the Bolshevik party. After the death of Lenin in 1924, a power struggle between the Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin started. In 1920, Stalin forced Trotsky into exile and began eliminating the Bolshevik to create a dictatorship and to build up Russia. As he said, he quoted once, he said, "Other countries are 50 years ahead of Russia. We must take this up in 10 years. He had two main aims. First, a centrally planned economy, and second is a totalitarian system. What is that centrally planned economy? He sets the government's 5 years plan and controlled the resources which needed to achieve the economic targets. What is a totalitarian government? Let's see. A totalitarian government is one where there is only one party allowed, the ruling party. The people are expected to be totally loyal to the state and to the person at the head of the government. Stalin ruled as a dictator. Stalin industrialized the USSR, forcibly collectivized its agriculture, consolidated his position by intensive police terror, helped to defeat Germany in 1941 or 45. 1941 or 45, this was the time period of Second World War, if you remember, and extended Soviet controls to include a belt of Eastern European states. Stalin was the chief architect of Soviet totalitarianism and a skilled but ruthless organizer. He introduced firm measures. In spite of his collectivization, policy production did not increase immediately. In fact, the bad harvest of 1930 to 33 led to one of the most devastating famines in Soviet history when over 4 million people died. Many within the party, they criticized the policy of collectivization. They didn't want to move according to Joseph Stalin. Some capitalist people, they wanted to remove this collectivization, farming or agriculture from the scenario. But Joseph took harsh steps. He charged the people and given them harsh punishments for becoming against the socialism. Though by the time of the outbreak of Second World War, the USSR had given a socialism a global face and a world stature. Yet by the 1950s, it was acknowledged within the country that the style of government in USSR was not keeping with the ideals of the Russian Revolution. The global influence of the Russian Revolution was great. By the end of 20th century, the international reputation of the USSR as a socialistic country had declined, though it was recognized that socialist ideas still enjoyed respect among its people. But in each country, the ideas of socialism were taught in a variety of different ways. So as we have completed both the modules of Russian Revolution, in module 1, we have discussed about the emergence of socialism in Russia. Simultaneously, we have discussed about all three revolutions which took place one by one in Russia and how the scenario changed in Russia. Emergence of Lenin brought a new kind of socialism or communism in Russia. After that, the new ideology of communism established, and later the new economic policy which was established by Lenin, it changed the entire economic system of Russia. After that, Joseph Stalin came in power. He converted himself into a dictator, and how the country moved ahead, this all we have discussed in module 2. So in that way, now I'm just concluding that about the Russian Revolution, how it influenced other European countries with the idea of socialism, is still it is affecting some other Asian or European countries. Still communism is followed by China. Still socialism is there in some other countries. Some countries are following capitalism, some countries are following socialism, but some countries as like India, we are following at both the system, capitalism is still there and socialism is still there. So in that way we have done so many things about Russian Revolution. Thank you very much.